Welcome to Peace Within the Journey of Forgiveness. I have Elijah in the building.
Hey.
Elijah, you're a trip. So can you give us a little insight of who you are?
Yes, indeed. Hello, all. My name is Elijah Divine. We're all divine by design. Currently active duty military. Done activist work for years. And I'm kind of in a stage in my life where I'm focusing more so on pouring back into my purpose and focusing more on what I need to do to serve the Lord and also focus on who I want to be at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you for your services. Couldn't be me, but thank you. So can you give us a little bit of what your desires of pouring in your purpose, please?
Yeah, so one of the main things that I try to focus on is ensuring that people have a certain level of peace of mind, right? If you're in distress, you can't get yourself a job. If you're in distress, you can't get yourself a place to live. If you're in distress, you can't even eat, right? So one of the things that I want to focus on down the road is ensuring that there are housing opportunities for people, for one. Also giving back in terms of food initiatives and food drives. Like during the holidays, I used to always do Kwanzaa, the 7 days of Kwanzaa, and giving during the 7 days of Kwanzaa to give back to the less fortunate and giving clothes drives as well. But we realized that wasn't substantial enough. Like that's only 7 days compared to 365.
Yeah, you're right. Wow. Well, I want to say thank you for accepting the invitation. So I like how you said peace of mind. Can you help us understand where you had that aha moment of like, you know what, I need to let go and forgive and move forward so I can have a peace of mind?
Well, I feel like when you're maturing, there are certain levels of evolution that happens internally where you have to start identifying where you're projecting instead of seeing what someone else is doing.
Yeah.
And at some point, I found myself being a common denominator in many problems and asking myself, well, what could I be doing wrong on a consistent basis? And that's forgiving myself first and foremost, right? I think it starts with forgiving yourself for the things that you've done wrong. Even when I pray, I try to ask God, like, hey, can you forgive me for the things that I knowingly do and unknowingly do?
Sure.
And kind of help me change the way I function. And when it comes down to relationships, friendships, and those things that went left, I always ask for forgiveness where I might not have been in the right state of mind, right? I might have been emotional. I might have thought about my feelings before even considering the other person's.
Sure.
And I ask for forgiveness and grace in those situations.
Whew. True. Your emotions, when you hear something that you don't like, you just go, and it's good. And, listening to what you're saying is like you're starting to be self-aware before you hurt the other person.
Yeah.
So first of all, how old are you, Elijah?
I'm 28.
Okay. Yeah. So when did you start it? Like, I'm 44. I hate to tell my age, but I would look at you like, boy, you're still young. But when was that moment like, because you're 28, like you said, you're maturing. So when was this age? Where was that in the age?
To be honest, I don't have a particular age associated with it because I was raised by older people. Only child, my parents, they're in their 70s now. So that kind of gives you a context of how I was raised. Like people growing up always call me like Uncle Eli, right? Or these different things that consider me to be an old man. So there are limits to wisdom, right? Where people will give you wisdom, there are limits to that because you still are confined to your generation and the experiences of your generation. So I don't want to say anything arrogant like, oh, I'm above my peers and so, so advanced. But no, I still mess up from time to time, even recently.
We all.
Yeah. That was a hard one right there. Like
should I know not to do that? Like, what was I thinking? Like anything, because sometimes like alcohol can play in it, drugs can play in it, emotions can play in it, triggers can play in it, so that's good. And I like how you spoke about friendships and relationships. Can you give us some insight on where you had to repair a friendship or a relationship, and how did you go about it?
Yeah, so recently I had to repair a friendship that's been a friendship for years because I made a whimsical decision for someone else that I was in a relationship with to then end a friendship that was special to me. And it was a hard decision, ultimately, and a decision I should have never made, honestly, in hindsight.
Okay, hold up, time out. Like, tell us from A to Z. Don't we? Tell us from A to Z so we can get the full effect. Don't say no names.
I don't know the alphabets.
Don't say no names, but give us like how did it start? Why did this person? Somebody had to tell you to cut that person.
I got you. Yeah. So it came from the woman I was dating at the time.
Okay.
And it was more so the uncomfortability of the dynamic that I had with my close best friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where she was uncomfortable of the position that my best friend played in my life and couldn't get over the hump of feeling like she feels less special than my best friend.
Okay, I'm gonna pause for the cause, but I know the best friend is in the background, right? So please excuse me. But I wanted to ask from a woman's standpoint, because me personally, I don't know if this maturity or if I've been through it or because I hung out with men,
right.
And I've been around their significant other, but how can a man make the other woman feel comfortable and secure in a situation like that? And I'm not saying that you didn't, but that's also a question as well.
So for me personally, right, because this is my first time dealing with that in a relationship. Again, my best friend been around for years, been around other relationships, and it never been a problem. But in this particular situation, it was one of those things where I believe it could have went better in hindsight if she was more open to being around our dynamic and experiencing it more often. Instead of hearing certain information automatically be like, wow, I'm already uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, well, give it a chance, and no one wants to be stuck with an ultimatum. And going back to what you originally asked, right, in terms of repairing the friendship, it came with heavy apologies and
flowers, candy, sugar. Okay, we female. They like, we like it. Okay, that's what. Yeah.
No, I feel you. And it's one of those things too, where certain things I was being told too from, my best friend, is they rang true later in the relationship. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes, and I'm not trying to go too far in there, but sometimes certain people that know you best or know you more can see you in a certain environment where you're not functioning as yourself and will point out certain red flags or issues with something that you might be blinded by. And then, like a deer caught in the headlights, it might be too late before you get hit by that car. And they're like, look, I told you don't cross the street, so that's all I can say to that.
Okay. And that's good that y'all was able to come back. Mm-hmm. But was it easy? Was it hard? How was it for you to say, like, crawl on your knees, say, best friend, I am so sorry? Because even though it probably could have been the same thing as a male, like a man, like, yo, dude, this is what I see. You might not see it. Like you said, a deer in the headlights. Yeah. And you like, nah, this sugar is good. I want to stay over here, and then you like, look, I'm choosing this and over you. So how did you come to that aha moment, basically?
Knowing that I've wronged someone, you know what I mean, and they didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
That's a certain level of guilt that resides in that.
Do you still feel guilty now? Do you still hold that little?
No, because when things are forgiven, I don't find myself feeling guilty.
Okay, that's cool.
I try to be a type of person to let go of stuff as soon as I can.
Okay.
Because I know if I harvest it right and like build it up, it's going to grow into unsavory crop. And I try not to hold on to stuff that was supposed to be moved on from. Right now, I still will do my best to show up to still not fall back into a situation of being too comfortable, because I know that was an uncomfortable situation and it's hard to ignore certain friction. But to answer your question, no, I don't still feel guilty. Because guilt is not of God ultimately, right? It's a flesh, and we try to move on from that. It's like, all right, I did you wrong. Let's find a solution. Let's move forward, and I'm trying to move in a righteous manner, pushing forward.
And how do you learn from this lesson moving forward? If y'all having, the dynamic is different from people coming in y'all relationship. How do you move forward?
Moving forward, I don't find myself, and I will not be in a relationship where the boundaries come across that I have to choose someone over the other person. Okay. And I need to be very particular with what I'm saying too, and choose my words in the most reflective way, right? It didn't overtly come up like, hey, choose her over me. Okay. It came up as, well, I see you love your best friend. I see you're too close with your best friend. I'm out. And it's like, bro, what? You know what I mean?
What that mean though? Too close to your best friend, because
it's like, then you start thinking, the wheels start turning. And in hindsight, I look at like some of the manipulative nature of the what I used to call, or still call, inflammatory comments like that. Like, okay. Oh, well, throwing in the towel already after like you've been building stuff. You knew about my best friend. You met my best friend. You spoke with my best friend and had these conversations. You act like you was cool and comfortable with it. But then a couple months later now, because she's calling my phone and we actually conversing, okay. Now it's, yo, she taking up too much real estate. And it's like, bro, too much real estate, you got the whole land. You know what I mean? Oh. So,
well, you know, I'm a female, so I gotta play these games, right?
Cool. I got you.
And what time was your female best friend was calling?
They be mainly during the day. During the day.
Oh, okay. Because I'm thinking, like, in my mind, after 8 p.m., and if it ain't no emergency now, there should be some boundaries, even if it's man or female. Because you know how do you say, you gravitate, God bring you at one, even though y'all wasn't married. Yeah. But my personal opinion now is some boundaries that should be set, because you're not single no more. Yeah. You know.
There were boundaries set, and okay. I don't want to put my best friend's business out there, but there were particular instances where she needed me at a time that wasn't regular. Right.
Well, I respect that. That's best friend. That's your family, your sister, your mama might call, and that's anybody. So I can respect that.
And that's when it, on the surface, seemed like everything was okay. Then come back a couple weeks later. Oh, I ain't like this. I ain't like this. I ain't like this. You was right there on the phone with me. You was with me when I got this phone call. I took it in front of you.
She could have went with you to go help her.
I'm saying, so, you know, you can't win everything.
No, these are just life lessons.
Yeah.
And it's glad that through the life lesson, you and your best friend was able to come back and forgive each other for that type of dynamic. And I don't know the young lady, but what you're expressing to me, she just has some work to do on her own. And it could be some situations that happen to her where people lied and like, oh, this is my sister. You know how people play that game. Oh, this is my sister. Them notes. But sister and Johnny over here doing something while the girlfriend, been there, done that scene. And, I experienced it and I understand that. But yeah, I'm glad that, y'all was able to move forward. And okay, well, I know you got to talk to your best friend. I know she backstage, but we act like she ain't here. How was it easy? Was it like, what was the transaction? Not the transaction, but what was the communication between y'all two when y'all started to build the friendship back? Was it easy for her to forgive you?
And from what it showed up as, yes.
Oh, wow, that's a good heart.
That's a better question for her though, but ultimately, it felt like it was, because again, we've always had a great relationship. Okay. Now I also had to put pride to the side, put ego to the side and take full accountability of what I did, right? Okay. Like, and hear what I did. And even amidst being frustrated, because you don't want to be told how you done wrong. You know what I mean? Like, even though you did wrong, it's just like that flesh be, you know what I mean?
Well, it's a man thing. Like, I'm joking.
It might be, hey, look, flesh, right? Like, we gonna keep it flesh. But sometimes, sometimes when you done wrong, sometimes you don't want to be told that you done wrong. Okay. Because it's like you already know you did wrong. Okay. But you also have to hear the other person out.
That's true.
And it takes maturity to sit there and hear it out and be fully accountable and do whatever you need to do to rectify it. Because some people are like, well, that bridge is burned.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Move on.
Yeah.
Deuces to you and that girl.
Yeah, everything, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but when it's love, when you truly have a good heart, you want to find peace in it. Even if y'all don't come back together, like, that's maturity. Like you said, that's maturity. Yeah. Maturity is in forgiving. So you don't be out here breaking or having cycles. You get what I'm saying? It's time to break the cycle. And that comes with maturity and understanding that we have to break the cycle of unforgiveness. And I'm glad that you displayed a friendship, because a lot of people come on the show and they more talk about like relationships with family or relationships where they had to forgive their perpetrator. You know, so I really like how you showing how people should really value their friendship, and like you said, put the flesh aside, put the ego to side, put the pride aside, and find a way to communicate and how to build that bridge back together. Wow, that's good. So moving along, you know, I'm nosy a little bit, but have the young lady reached out to you and apologized? Like, you know how sometimes where you can sit on things, marinate on things like, dang, I shouldn't have did that.
No. Okay. And ironically, things went south for other reasons.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, sometimes you pray for clarity on certain things and then you let God do his thing. And you step back, you know what I mean, and watch whatever happens. I will say, like, in that relationship, I try to do my best to compromise as well as be as righteous as I could. And it's only been so many times you're going to hear somebody tell you they're growing to resent you, or you're not loving me the way I deserve or how I feel, which is understandable, right? Like, I mean, if how I'm going and I'm going hard, I'm pouring everything in, and I'm thinking it's big, and you saying it don't resonate with you, at some point I'm gonna be like, all right, cool, man. You know,
this just wasn't y'all.
We just not compatible. It took a lot to show that we're not compatible, a lot of effort, but needless to say, there were certain things that I identified in a relationship that showed up like gaslighting or showed up like some form of manipulation. And I need to forgive myself for playing a role and playing a part in that, right? Like, because you ain't a victim when you know it, right? And you still try to participate. This is my opinion, though.
So I'm here that you know, man of God, and you seek God. So before you jump in these relationships and saying, hey, I want you to be my boo thing, you don't pray on it and say, you know what, God, I met this young lady, was good. I need a sign. I need you to say something before I even enter into the door of giving her my space.
I feel that's a great question. So let me rewind. I believe I do pray for those things. Because I do pray a general prayer. It's never really specific about the person.
Well, be specific, but go ahead.
So that's my problem, right? And in saying this, I'm acknowledging where I've messed up. And I also know that I feel like there's other things and other people listening too when you send out a general prayer like that.
You bind it, but go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah.
You can bind those up, okay.
So that, you know what I mean? So that's what ultimately, just I'm saying in retrospect. So in this particular case, I know I prayed for a future with somebody significant, but to what degree? No. To whom? No. And that's where my fault is. You know, you see a shiny diamond and you're like, ooh, I want the diamond. But then
what jumped in my spirit, Matthew 5. Read that.
Okay.
I can't remember the verse, but I think it's Matthew 5, like 12 or 17, something like that. And then I said, be Pacific. Ask God, like, be Pacific. And I know, like, women, if you hear women on YouTube, they Pacific, like, God, I want boom, 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 you know, but also, you know, you can also say, God, you know, as I'm searching, because it's designed for man to have a helpmate, you know, give me what you need for me to have, because we know what we desire, but do we definitely know what we need out of a person? You know what I'm saying? Because God can see different things, and we might not even know that we need that in that area from that person.
Yeah.
So that's just a little tidbit for you as you're out here dating and I guess seeking a wife. I don't know, or just a girlfriend. You supposed to be seeking a wife.
Was that a question?
I'm talking like a big sister, but I want to hear what you were going to say, because I want to say.
I'm letting you get your thought out. Look.
I wouldn't. I'm talking like a big sister. Like, don't be playing around.
Nah, I definitely am.
Time out. Everybody want to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Like, you should be like searching just exactly for like your wife. First of all, it saves you a lot of money. First of all,
if it goes south, hey, look, if it goes south,
won't go south because it's divine by God. It'll be divine by God. You know what I'm saying? Because you really will be put like, look, God. So this I always tell people, and one of my homegirls, she tried it. Because she was like, oh, I'm dating, but I said, well, have you went to God and say this prayer? So when I meet someone, I say, hey, ooh, God, you know, yeah, I'm liking this person, but if he's not the one, take him out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie, I get ghosted or they just gone like, hey, I don't want to talk to you no more. And she did it. And when I saw her, I was like, oh, what's up with you and the guy? She was like, he haven't called me. I said, what happened? She said, I said that prayer. I said, boom. It saves so much time, even though, like you said, your flesh, you know, we don't want to be lonely. We want that someone, but it helps you in the long run to remove yourself from situations where we can avoid and allow God to really put the right person, because it could be the right person in front of your face. You really don't know it. You just put a title on it. But sometimes if you really, but that's just not me. But go ahead.
So for me, I say, I am looking for a wife when I'm looking, right? Mm-hmm. Even in a particular situation, I wasn't necessarily looking. And I think that's part of my transition is even when things are being presented to you, you don't got to jump.
That's true.
You know, just because it's pretty and shiny doesn't mean it's something that you need to hold on to believe that the value is going to go up or go down. So I receive what you're saying, especially knowing that towards the end of the relationship, when I was in the stages of, this ain't working, I did that prayer, and sure enough, everything kind of started making, exiting stage left. And I also, and I don't want to make this too much about relationships, the whole conversation. But
relationships, you work in communication and forgiveness, because I was going to ask that, because you and your best friend, you had a situation where it's the opposite sex and you're forgiving each other. How would you take that into your future when you start building a family and have a wife? Because it's going to be some roles where you can be like, oh, Jesus Christ, and that. And you're going to have to like, okay, let me let go. Let me breathe. Let me forgive her in this moment. But you said it's easy for you to let go.
You're saying a future with, you're saying with my wife and family, am I able to do the same?
You will have, these are like life lessons where it's going to teach you like what you've been through in the past. Sometimes it helps you in the future. Like, oh, I dealt with this, so I know how to deal with this. And what you dealt with your best friend, it will probably help you in the future when you build a family and have a wife. How it's going to be areas that some people do, God forbid, like say something happen and like some people have adultery in their relationship. How can you overcome that? You know, these are some hard things. And like a lot of men, like women, we have to put on our big girl panties on and try to forgive to help build the relationship back up. But how can you do that as a man, to forgive this person that you love so much that accidentally fell into temptation, fell to her flesh? How can you build that back up and allow it not to never happen again, and to move forward, like you said, with a peace of mind?
Hey, look, I'm gonna keep it real, right? Okay. Stuff like that. Like if we married, there ain't no accidents in adultery.
But I was just using that as an example.
I got you. I got you.
Well, let's hope it don't.
You know,
we all know what no adultery in our marriage.
All I'm saying is, for me, moving forward with my life and how I want to be, I'm drawing certain boundaries early on, even in dating, to pursue marriage, to let it be known, like, hey, this is how I function, and this is what I would like. If you're not that person, all right, let's go ahead and not move forward with each other. Even if I look good to you, you look good to me, woo, because I don't have the bandwidth to deal with trying to conform to somebody else's circumstances and who they are. And I don't want you to try to mirror me or do anything that, try to get me and then reel me in by fall in love with potential. I don't got the bandwidth for that anymore.
Oh,
so
that's good. I never heard dudes say that.
Yeah. So that's how I perceive it, right? Talking about a wife and stuff like that. Even right now, I'm not really particularly looking for a wife or thinking about marriage. But when and if I cross that road, and I say if, because that who knows what God has in store for me. If I was faced with those type of circumstances, I know I will not be that forgiving. Because I know the conviction that is held beyond the point of putting that ring on your finger and y'all making these agreements. At that point, right, if I'm at that altar and I'm telling you like, hey, we locked in, you know what I mean? I do in front of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, you know, if we at that point, I ain't saying we gotta move perfect, but them days gotta be gone. You know what I mean?
You never know, and my mind just go pew pew pew.
Yeah, I know
anything because certain situations happen in a relationship. How sometimes a husband and a wife become a little distant, and you know how people always say that that work husband or that work wife, you know, situations like that. But that's no here, no there, because you never know. That's not everybody's story. I was just using that as it for an example, because people are dealing with adultery in their marriage and trying to forgive and find a peace of mind and restore or start a new foundation, building a better foundation in that area of their lives. And I like how you talked about relationships. So I just went up the hill.
I feel you. And up on that hill, I'm telling you, I die on that hill saying,
proclaim it. I mean, but you
we need a prenup. You know what I mean? Before we go in, because you're right. And I agree, those things are realities in many marriages. It's not even a small percentile. It can go either way. Right. And ultimately, if I'm with somebody and we get to the point of marriage, I pray that we had worked through certain type of
having therapy and stuff.
Therapy, certain type of conversations, and knowing this person to the point where, all right, when things get difficult, how do you react to difficult circumstances? That's what it falls down to for me. And that's why it's a maturity thing, right? Because even in my relationship, there's certain things I could have done better in terms of reacting to difficult situations, difficult conversations, and transcending, this particular conversation is also acknowledging when you're triggered and when you might fall back into a childlike manner compared to the manner that you're designed to be in your current state. We all claim our age and we're supposed to act it, right? But realistically, we might still be wounded from when we were children, and we react and we fall back on what we practice, which isn't practicing any healthy reaction. So to that point, I pray that I meet a partner or come across a relationship where there's already healthy responses embedded in the dynamic, you know what I mean? For that person.
I hope you find it.
And I'm saying that to the point of marriage, right? Not saying that has to be the case now. And I'm letting you know, I ain't really willing to work on that from 0 to 1,000. Cause I know that I've done a lot of work internally to become self-aware, have self-reflection, try to focus on my relationship with the Most High, try to move in a certain way. So I understand my value and what I am to God's kingdom, even when I fall, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be around someone that's going to drag me into my flesh and make me feel like, oh, well, I got to teach you.
What's wrong with that?
God used me to teach you. God used me to teach you. God used me to teach you. What's wrong with that? The problem is when you burn out and then this person is now in a certain position, then they look at you being burnt out. They expected you to be the same way all the time.
How would you get yourself burned out?
I've been burnt out before, right?
Your mate.
Because what I'm saying is I would love to come across somebody that is like-minded.
Like you want to be there.
It don't even gotta be here. Okay. But at least are we like-minded? Okay. Have we the same type of mentality towards certain perspectives and things? I don't want the same person, but we got to at least be in the same ballpark.
You are. Both of y'all love God. Y'all in the same ballpark. Both of y'all want to please God.
Yeah.
Y'all in the same ballpark.
No, not necessarily.
Might not be elevated in a spiritual realm like you are. Like I could be somebody and I'm like, whoa, can you teach me like how to go into the next dimension?
To be honest, I don't that I'd rather be with somebody that is in that spiritual realm, even if she's further along in her spiritual realm than me.
Now she got to teach you. She might be feeling like, dang, God, I don't want this because I got to be burnt out.
And she's right in that. She's right. If that's how she feels.
But we supposed to learn. Like, I want to go back to your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
It might be some areas that you like, yo, shorty, I got to help you in this. It's the same thing in a relationship. Like, yo, I got to help you in this and this and this. Me in a friendship. Like, oh, girl, why you doing that? Let me help you in that area. Now, sometimes I've been in a place like, oh, wow, I can't help her in that area because they don't listen. And I noticed like, oh, wow, they don't listen. So I tried.
I feel that.
But I got to respect them. And maybe they'll grow. I feel like they should be moving at a faster speed. But they're moving at their own speed. So now I got to be patient and see where they're going to grow. I plant the seed now. Let me see how they're going to grow. So this area of teaching and stuff comes with patience as well.
I agree.
And forgiveness. Like when you're forgiving someone, it comes with patience because it might not be for you, but for the other person, something might trigger them like, oh, hold up. Like you just triggered me. And that's where you teach people how to articulate. Like, you know what? Oh, I was triggered. Let's pause for a cause because I know me when I get upset, I'm about to blow the roof off this. So let's be patient. And sometimes some people are like, no, I want to talk about it now.
Yeah.
No, respect, like you said, boundaries, respect me. Let me calm down and I can come back to you maybe in 2 hours or 2 days. Respect that. And we can come back. It's just about patience with each and everybody walk in Christ. And when you say burnt out, like why am I getting burnt out? Being burnt out is because you're pouring everything into that person. And you should not be pouring everything into the person because they have to do their own work. You can give them the blueprint, but they will have to do their own work. So like if you give me the blueprint to build a house and you give her a blueprint to build the house, somebody might build it a month early. Somebody might build it a month late because what type of, I hate to say energy, but what type of tenacity they putting into it that she might stay up extra 12 hours. Me, I'm like, shoot, I'm going to sleep. I'll go back and finish it with, so sometimes you just got to be patient and try not to pull all because you can't pull all. It's God pulling all of God in them to bring them to where God has created them to be,
I agree.
That's the best way.
So to your point, and I agree with what you're saying, let me rephrase my statement, right? Because to what you're saying, more so, I do not have the patience to pour into somebody and sit there and try to watch the seed grow because that's not my job. Now, I've done that for years. And to your point too about my best friend, like we've poured into each other over the years. So it's never a feeling of straight up exhaustion or, I can't turn to you, you can't turn to me. It's more so like, hey, we both see what's wrong with both of our situations. We be knowing that we got something going on with our situation. And it's like reassurance. I'm not going to you asking, I'm not going to her asking her like, hey, and the same thing with my brothers. Like, I don't go to them not knowing what I'm supposed to do. I normally go to them like, yo, this is the situation. I tell what I did wrong. They tell me where I could have done better, etc. And then it's a confirmation compared to if you just don't know, like my role as a teacher is not present. You know what I mean? Because I'm still getting worked on myself. And to the analogy too about the blueprints, right? Like I don't mind giving blueprints because I'm still, working on my own house, building my own house.
We all working on each other.
Yeah,
I mean, we all working to grow, to be better. Every day
I feel that
should be like a learning lesson, and what's the best part about it is having someone to go on the journey with you.
But if you want me to come help build your house while my house is over here, ain't got no roof on it yet, it's raining, you know what I mean? The foundation's still shaking. I can't go.
Oh, well, you can't.
You know what I mean?
You don't got a foundation, then you can't.
You know what I mean?
You know,
so I say all that to say, like, I've grown to the point where me personally, right, and in my current walk, I'm planting seeds. I'm trying to add value, but I also acknowledge my bandwidth and where I need to reserve myself. And sometimes I've been in relationships, some friendships that I no longer have, where I know that they want me to pour into them consistently. And it's like, why don't you make me feel special? Why don't you answer the phone anymore? Because especially being active duty military, like, I'm not around anymore. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. I can't be on my phone the same amount. Yeah. So people become accustomed to how you used to be, and they get stuck on that one version of you instead of seeing and acknowledging, like, hey, I changed. This is what I can give to you now, and it's not enough. So, you know, I'm willing to pour into people to the degree that I can, but I'm not going to sit there and try to watch it because that's not my job anymore. You know what I mean? You're not going to sit there and watch it. I can't. Yeah, I can't.
Oh, wow. So I thank you for all of that. So what's something you can pour into young men into letting go and allowing themselves to move forward, and don't let unforgiveness to be a burden or be a bondage to them?
The best advice I can give young men to let go is, brother, focus on yourself. Focus on who God is designing you to be, because ultimately you are being created to become a creator. You know, you want to be made in the image of God. You want to be like the Father. You got Jesus as an example. Study some of the prophets in the Bible, man, and see their hardships and how did they overcome them, if they overcame them in some instances. And focus on who you need to be and let go of who you used to be. Some aspects of who you used to be will still exist inside of you, and they'll come out occasionally when necessary, but learn how to balance the two, because the new you needs you to be focused in the present in order to get to the new. And then the old you needs you to move on from the old you in order to get to the new you. So that's the best advice I can give any young man that's listening. Brother, like, it is a journey that is worth traveling when you can let go of all the old stuff that is still bothering you. Seek therapy. Like, I'm telling you, I have my own therapist. This is not me just talking as if I'm just like some self-help guy. No, it's no self-help. Okay. You call on God, you call on your support system, and then you also speak to a professional that can guide you with the tools that you need to move forward. Because sometimes, especially as melanated men, right? Like, sometimes we don't have the vernacular or the language to use in order to even express how we feel on stuff. And we feel trapped because no one understands us. Bro, let go of that entrapment. Try to pick up, a thesaurus. And I'm so serious. Like, pick up a thesaurus or a dictionary. Go speak to a professional that can help you work through your emotions and your feelings, because you're not 3 or 4 emotions, right? You're not angry, sad, upset, aggressive. Like, don't let them paint a picture for you. Just figure out who you are. And then lastly, give yourself a chance to be multifaceted and multidimensional. Like, you don't got to be a caricature or a stereotype. Be exactly who you want to be, bro. If you see something that you enjoy that your other friends don't do, bro, go enjoy it, bro. Don't worry about nobody's judgment of you, because at the end of the day, they not walking in your shoes. They're not going to be in your tomb when your tomb is created, or your urn or your casket. They're not going to live your experience. So be yourself fully, accept who you are, look in that mirror, acknowledge that God created you exactly who you are. Try to dive into the Bible, see what the prophets went through, because a lot of prophets experience things that we are experiencing. And also get yourself a good therapist. My therapist is a woman, but if you want to lean more towards somebody who understands you more, get yourself a man that could be your therapist as well, and be vulnerable with them, and learn what it means to be vulnerable with them, and then get your expressions out. So then when you come into a situation where you want a friendship or a relationship, you don't bring baggage with you that will potentially damage that relationship, because you're not supposed to bring that to certain dynamics. That's all I can say to y'all, man.
Thank you, Elijah. That was well said. Thank you, everyone. I pray that you enjoy yourself watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.